Yes, passage number 21, Rabash writes, and if a person is placed under this rule, like the nations of the world, then he is an exile, and then he is regarded as an idol worshipper. And then there is room for prayer that the Creator will help him out of this exile. And then it can be said, now, meaning once he is in exile and regarded as an idol worshipper, it can be said, now the Creator has brought us closer to His work, meaning to work in the work of the Creator and to not work for the governance of idol worshiping. This is called the Exodus from Egypt, when all the works are for the Creator. For this reason, we can relate the commandments to the memory of the Exodus from Egypt. Only then, once we have come out of the exile in Egypt, can we keep the commandments because of the Creator's commandment and not for other reasons.
Reading excerpt 22, Rabash writes, since man was created with a will to receive for himself, because obtaining the real pleasures requires being rewarded with dvekut, adhesion first, called equivalence of form, meaning that his aim will be for the sake of the Creator, called in order to bestow, which is the quality of the Creator, who is called the giver. And this is against nature. It follows that he is placed in exile under the rule of the king of Egypt. And since the body is called the will to receive, there is no point in serving the Creator against one's will, since there is no pleasure in something that is compulsory, only a sorrowful life. But only such is the way of Torah, the way until we achieve Torah Lishma, for her sake. Until then, life is a sorrowful life, meaning it is compulsory. Excerpt 23 by Rabash. One who learns Torah, since he believes in the words of our sages who said, the Creator said, I have created the evil inclination, I have created the Torah as a spice. This spice is given to a person so he will feel how far he is from the Creator. It follows that the Torah gives man the kli, meaning the lamp, for man to ask the Creator to deliver him from the exile, called the exile in Egypt. It is known that Meitzar Yam, a narrow sea, means Tzar Ein, literally narrow-eyed, meaning jealous. That is, a person has no power to bestow, but only to receive. Although he sees that it is impossible to approach the Creator before all his actions are in order to bestow, he nonetheless sees that there is no way he will be able to achieve this without his help. 24, Excerpt 24, Rabash writes, why is the grave prohibition of do not eat the bread of an evil-eyed man, for which Israel remained in exile? It is, as it says, had Israel not tasted the bread of the Egyptians when they went down to Egypt, they would not have been left in the exile in Egypt. Exile means that the people of Israel could not work in order to bestow upon the Creator, but only in order to receive for themselves. This is called the exile in Egypt, when they could not emerge from under their control and the will to receive for oneself dominated. This is why the Zohar says that if, when they descended to exile in Egypt, they had been cautious not to eat, meaning not to enjoy what the Egyptians enjoy, meaning the evil eye, which is the will to receive for oneself, they would not have come under their control in the exile. It follows that the gravity of the prohibition of an evil-eyed man is because his bread is entirely in order to receive. And this causes all the separation from Kedusha. This is the prohibition of do not eat the bread of an evil-eyed man.
Item 25. This is from Rabash. One should know that these descents were given to him to learn how it is possible to appreciate the state of ascent. But during the descent, one cannot learn anything from it. However, during the ascent, he can make a true judgment and say, "Now I am in a state of faith, and this came to me from the Creator. Otherwise, I would immediately fall into a state of self-love." If he does not make this calculation and thank the Creator for bringing him closer, he is immediately thrown. It turns out that it is impossible to obtain real pleasure from nearing the Creator unless he can appreciate it, as said above, as the advantage of the light from the darkness. It follows that for the creatures to receive the delight and pleasure and feel it, those descents were all necessary. They are called exile, and this is called Shekhinah, divinity in exile, or Shekhinah in the dust. Only by this will one have the kelim, the vessels, to feel the delight and pleasure. Excerpt number 26. Rabash writes, "When Israel are in exile, the Shekhinah is with them. This means that if one falls into a descent, spirituality is also descended in him. But according to the rule, a mitzvah induces a mitzvah. Why does he come into a descent? Answer: he is given a descent from above so as to feel that he is in exile and ask for mercy, to be delivered from exile. This is called redemption. And there cannot be redemption if there's no exile there first." 27, Rabash writes, "It is impossible to come out of the exile in Egypt before entering the exile. Only then can it be said that we are coming out of the exile." The author of the Haggadah tells us about this, that we need to know that in the beginning our fathers were idol worshippers, meaning that they were in exile under the rule of idol worshippers. And only then the Creator brought our fathers closer. But if they did not feel that they were placed under the rule of idol worshippers, it could not be said that the Creator had brought them closer. Only when a person is remote from the Creator can it be said that the Creator is bringing him closer. Because the absence should always come before the presence. For the absence is the Kli, and the presence is the light that fills the absence and the darkness. Now 28.
28. Rabash. It is impossible to emerge from the exile before one is in exile. It is also known that the Holy Torah is eternal and applies to each and every generation. Also, we say in the Haggadah, every generation one must see oneself as though he came out of Egypt. For this reason, we must know the meaning of the exile we are in, and what it means that each generation we must emerge from this bitter exile.
Item 29, Rabash writes, "It is written, remember that you were a slave in Egypt. And who says that being a slave is so bad? After all, there are people who want to be slaves. As was said, that the slave said, I love my master. The thing is that exile is according to the level of suffering and pain that one feels in the exile. To that extent, it is possible to be happy about the redemption. This is like light and kli, meaning that the suffering we suffer from something is the kli that can receive light if it liberates itself from the suffering."
Topic: the Klippa of Egypt. Number 30, Rabash writes, "The Klippa, the shell of Egypt, is a general Klippa. It is where the sparks of Kedusha, of holiness, fell, which the people of Israel who were in Egypt had to correct. Thus, first there must be pain and affliction for not being able to exit their governance. As it is written, and the children of Israel sighed because of the labor, and they cried, and their cry came up unto God because of the labor, and God heard their groaning." 32, Rabash writes, "As sages said, anyone who constrains Israel becomes a Rosh, head. This is, who can control the quality of Israel? Only he who is Rosh and governs. Then he constrains the quality of Israel, not letting one work for the sake of the Creator, which is called to engage in chesed, mercy, but only in reception for oneself. This is called the Klippa of Egypt." 33, Bala Sulam writes, from Shamati, "Before they saw the situation that they are in the hands of the Klipot and were hurting and afraid that they could not remain there forever, they had no need for the Creator's help from vessels of reception, if they do not feel the shortcoming and detriment caused by them, that this is all that obstructs them from adhering to the Creator. This is because otherwise one has a higher regard for work in the form of knowledge and reception, and faith is considered lowliness. They prefer knowledge and reception, since this is what man's exterior mind necessitates. Hence, they were given the exile to feel that they do not progress in nearing the Creator, and all their work sinks in the Klippa of Egypt. Finally, they saw that they had no other choice but to take upon themselves the work of lowliness, which is faith above reason, and yearn for bestowal. Otherwise, they feel that they are in the domain of the Sitra Achra." 34. The topic is Hebrew man and Egyptian man. Rabash writes, "He went out to his brothers and saw their suffering, and he saw an Egyptian man striking a Hebrew man, one of his brothers, and he saw that there was no one." In the work, we should interpret that precisely when a person has the quality of Moses called Torah, he can see how an Egyptian man, meaning the will to receive for oneself, he says that he is called a man. And with this force called Torah, he sees that it strikes the Hebrew man. That is, for the Hebrew man, a man is one who does not want a beast what a beast does, meaning that a man is one who does not use the desires of beasts, as it is written, and he saw that there was no one, meaning that a man will never emerge from him by itself. This is so because that person has the quality of Moses, who is the quality of faithful shepherd. And that force awakens a person to see the truth, that he will never achieve the quality of man by himself. This is the meaning of the verse, and he saw that there was no one. This causes him to ask the Creator to give him faith in the Creator, by which he will achieve dvekut with the Creator. 35, Rabash writes, the Egyptians despised the food of the Hebrews, since all the bread of the Hebrews, meaning their nourishment, was in order to bestow. And to the Egyptians, all the bread is evil-eyed, namely to receive. When they heard that the Hebrews' bread is to bestow, and bestow is loathsome and despicable, since they must work in order to bestow and not receive for their own sake, they regarded this work as despicable, and they did not feel any taste in it. Therefore, as soon as the Egyptians heard that we must work in order to bestow, they came to feel that they must lower themselves, meaning that all their reason, which mandates that a person should see to his own benefit, and they cannot do anything that does not yield self-benefit. Therefore, when the body is under the governance of Egypt, as soon as it hears the slightest hint that we must work in order to bestow, he immediately despises this work and claims it is still with all its wits and will not surrender to eat the Hebrews' bread. For as for them this bread is abomination, because this bread is against reason.